And I said, yeah, what's up? And he said, Kira's missing.
What happens when someone vanishes without a trace, leaving behind no clues, no explanations, just silence? For 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 Steger, a bright and dedicated 30-year-old, February 21, 2013, was supposed to be just another ordinary day. But when she didn't show up for work, something she never did, her co-workers knew something was terribly wrong. Where did she go? And why did the person closest to her seem the least concerned? To understand what really happened to 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲, we have to go back to the beginning, to the life she lived, the people she trusted, and the secrets that may have cost her everything. 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 Steger came into the world on November 19, 1982, in the quiet suburb of Des Plaines, Illinois. She was raised by her parents, Marcy and Jay Steger, who often spoke of her warmth, strong will, and cheerful nature. From a young age, 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 brought energy to every room she entered, the kind of person who seemed to make life just a bit lighter for everyone around her. She found her footing professionally at the bustling Mall of America, where she split her time between two retail stores, Wet Seal and later Delia's. More than just colleagues, her teammates became a second family, sharing laughs, support, and more than a few mall pretzels during breaks. 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 had a quiet gift for spotting potential in others, even when they couldn't see it themselves, a quality that made her both a thoughtful friend and a natural leader. With a heart full of plans and a sense of purpose that gave her days direction, 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 looked ahead to a life that promised peace and fulfillment. But those plans were interrupted unexpectedly on February 21, 2013, when she disappeared without warning. The cruel irony? A woman so good at seeing everyone else's path ahead somehow vanished from her own.
But before we begin, I just want to say thank you to my amazing viewers and subscribers. Your support through likes, shares, and comments means the world to me. Your engagement helps make these stories even more meaningful. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of true crime enthusiasts. 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 was scheduled to work that day, and according to her colleagues, she seemed upbeat and in good spirits. There was even talk of dinner plans later that evening. She and her husband had picked out a restaurant to enjoy together once her shift ended. It was meant to be a simple, pleasant night. She and Jeffrey Trevino had first crossed paths 3 years earlier. What began as a chance meeting soon developed into something more, a connection that quickly turned romantic. That bond deepened over time, eventually leading them down the aisle. To those around them, their marriage appeared steady and loving. Like most couples, they likely had their share of minor disputes, but whatever issues may have surfaced were kept entirely private. Friends, relatives, and co-workers remained unaware of any real strain in the relationship. If there was a storm, it never made it past the front door. Ironically, the calmest homes sometimes hide the loudest silences. By Saturday, February 23rd, concern had started to build. 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 hadn't shown up for her scheduled shift, and for those who worked alongside her, that was immediately unusual. She had a reputation for being punctual and well-organized, someone who held herself and others to a high standard. Being absent without notice simply didn't fit her pattern. When no one could get through to her, her co-workers reached out to Jeffrey. He seemed unsure of her whereabouts, explaining that 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 had left the house the morning before and hadn't returned. According to him, it wasn't out of character for her to take time away without checking in. She'd occasionally spend a night with a friend or drop in unexpectedly on family. Still, the weather that day didn't help calm anyone's nerves. A snowstorm had rolled through the area, adding another layer of uncertainty. Jeffrey suggested that something minor could have delayed her return. Maybe she'd run into car trouble or lost phone service. After all, nothing says modern mystery quite like a dead battery in a snowy road. That same Saturday, with no word from 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 and growing unease, Jeffrey contacted authorities to officially report her missing. He also reached out to her family, who were taken aback by the unexpected news. The thought that 𝐀𝐫𝐜𝐜𝐲 might simply vanish without explanation was both alarming and deeply painful for those closest to her.
Police began their inquiry without delay. As is routine in such situations, the initial focus fell on the home and spouse. Investigators arrived at the couple's residence to speak with Jeffrey and assess the surroundings. He recounted that on Thursday, he and 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜 had made plans to enjoy each other's company. They'd gone out for dinner, shared a few laughs over a round of bowling, and then left the mall together. According to Jeffrey, they returned home afterward, where 𝐂𝐫𝐜 had mentioned wanting to unwind with a movie. He told officers that she appeared in her usual state of mind and gave no sign that anything was wrong. The next morning, around 8:30 a.m., he claimed she left for work, where she had a scheduled event that required her attendance. Of course, hindsight has a funny way of making even the most ordinary moments feel suspicious. Jeffrey didn't initially view 𝐂𝐫𝐜's absence as alarming. He explained that she sometimes took time away without giving much detail, and while he wasn't always sure of her location or company, it hadn't raised red flags before. He acknowledged that their relationship had gone through some rough patches in recent months, but described those issues as routine disagreements. Nothing, in his view, that pointed to something serious. Detectives began asking more pointed questions, including whether 𝐂𝐫𝐜 could have been staying with someone else. The idea of a possible affair was brought up, but Jeffrey dismissed it. He said he had asked 𝐂𝐫𝐜 directly in the past, and she had denied it. He maintained that he trusted her and still cared deeply for her. All available details, including a description of 𝐂𝐫𝐜 and her vehicle, were circulated to local patrol units. Meanwhile, detectives decided to follow up on Jeffrey's account. They headed to the Mall of America, hoping to confirm his version of events and, with luck, uncover any small detail that might point them in the right direction. Ironically, the place where their evening had started so casually had now become the focus of a formal investigation. The Mall of America, located in Bloomington, ranks among the largest retail complexes in the world. With over 500 shops, indoor attractions like amusement rides, an aquarium, cinemas, and even a golf course, it's more than just a place to shop. It's practically a city under one roof. Given its size and the daily crowds, it's no surprise the entire space is monitored by an extensive network of security cameras. Detectives, aware of the time 𝐂𝐫𝐜 had finished her shift on February 21st, reviewed the relevant footage to trace her movements. Nothing in the recordings raised immediate concerns. The video confirmed Jeffrey's version of events. He arrived at the mall, met up with 𝐂𝐫𝐜, and they spent some time together before heading to the parking garage. The two appeared calm, no visible tension between them. Everything about the evening seemed routine. Until, of course, it wasn't. Few things are more difficult than waiting in silence, unsure of what might come next. As the days passed with no word from 𝐂𝐫𝐜, the uncertainty began to weigh heavily on her loved ones. Unable to remain on the sidelines any longer, her family made the trip to Bloomington, determined to take part in the search. They printed posters bearing 𝐂𝐫𝐜's photo and began placing them throughout the area, on streetlights, storefronts, and in the hands of anyone willing to stop and listen. Standing still was no longer an option. They had to act. While the family worked the streets, investigators continued to follow leads. In speaking with neighbors near the couple's residence, detectives observed a private security camera mounted outside one home. The camera had a wide-angle swivel, and at certain points, its lens caught a view of 𝐂𝐫𝐜 and Jeffrey's property. With that in mind, officers asked the homeowner if they would be willing to provide a copy of the footage, hoping, as always, that a small corner of a frame might hold a key detail. After all, sometimes the clearest answers hide just outside the edge of the screen. Around the same time, investigators received new information from 𝐂𝐫𝐜's phone provider, which opened up a fresh direction in the case. The records showed frequent communication with someone other than her husband, specifically a man named Ryan Wendt. He worked as a store manager for the same retail chain where 𝐂𝐫𝐜 was employed, and according to the data, they had shared a close and consistent connection.
Further digging revealed that Ryan was not in the area at the time of 𝐂𝐫𝐜's disappearance. In fact, while the search was unfolding, he was on the road, reportedly heading toward Colorado. His name became a key point of interest, not just because of his relationship with 𝐂𝐫𝐜, but also due to the timing of his departure. It could have been nothing more than an oddly timed road trip, or maybe, just maybe, it was the most inconvenient coincidence since forgetting your alibi. Either way, it was now up to the detectives to determine whether Ryan's absence was just bad timing or something more. Eventually, investigators made contact with Ryan, who agreed to cooperate and met with authorities in Colorado. During the interview, he confirmed that he had exchanged messages with 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜 while driving through South Dakota. These texts, according to him, were sent not long before she was reported missing. By comparing timestamps, detectives discovered that 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜 had been communicating with Ryan during the same evening she had been out with her husband. The content of those messages made it apparent that her emotional connection with Jeffrey was beginning to fade, even if life on the outside still looked like business as usual. To verify Ryan's account, investigators analyzed his phone's location data and cross-referenced his credit card activity. Everything pointed to him being well outside the state at the relevant time. With no evidence linking him to 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜's disappearance, Ryan was cleared of suspicion. Sometimes the truth is less about who someone is and more about where their receipts say they've been. Phone records confirm that 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜 remained in contact with Ryan even after arriving home alongside her husband. Their exchange stopped abruptly at 11:44 p.m., and after that, her device remained completely still, like a stage gone dark mid-scene. At the same time, a separate investigative unit turned its attention to video footage gathered from a neighbor's security camera. The device had a motorized pan that offered coverage of the street, but it moved so swiftly that it was hard to focus on any one spot. Anytime something possibly important came into view, it would glide out of frame in the blink of an eye. The camera caught a glimpse of 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜 and Jeffrey's house, but only momentarily, before swinging away again, as if even the technology didn't want to stick around for what came next. According to Jeffrey, he and 𝐂𝐫𝐜 spent the evening having dinner, followed by a round of bowling. Afterward, they returned home, put on a movie, and eventually went to bed. But when investigators looked over the surveillance footage, something stood out. Around 2 a.m., 𝐂𝐫𝐜's vehicle was seen slowly backing into the yard. Due to the grainy quality of the video and the camera's constant sweeping motion, the exact details were difficult to make out. Not long after, the car was seen pulling away from the property. Jeffrey later explained that 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜 had reminded him to fill her tank for the next day, so he took the car out to get gas. Strangely, this part of his account held up. He was indeed captured on a gas station camera just after 3:30 in the morning. But what puzzled the investigators was what happened afterward. Instead of heading straight home, he was tracked going in the direction of the highway. His destination remains unknown. The neighbor's security camera never showed him returning, though given the camera's frequent panning, that detail could be chalked up to bad timing, or perhaps the camera just didn't feel like playing witness that night. As investigators continued reviewing the footage, they noted that 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜's Chevrolet pulled away from the driveway at exactly 9:21 a.m. Unfortunately, the camera angle and image clarity made it impossible to determine who was actually behind the wheel. On Saturday, February 23rd, 𝐂𝐫𝐜 was officially reported missing. 2 days later, on Monday the 25th, a call came into local authorities regarding a vehicle found near the shopping plaza where 𝐂𝐫𝐜 worked. The area had 2 parking structures with multiple levels, and security personnel had taken note of one car that hadn't moved in days. They called in a towing service. As the tow truck operator performed a quick check before removing the car, he spotted faint reddish marks on the back of the vehicle and decided it was best to let the police take it from there.
The white Chevy was soon confirmed to be 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐜's. While there were only a few faint stains visible, their presence was enough to cause concern. Inside the car, officers found her purse, along with printouts of divorce paperwork that appeared to have been downloaded from a legal website. Behind the vehicle, something small and dark resting in the snow caught an investigator's eye. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a rolled-up trunk liner, marked with deep discoloration on the underside. Lab tests would later confirm it carried traces of 𝐂𝐫𝐜 Steger's DNA. As evidence continued to surface, the investigation shifted from hopeful to grim. It became painfully clear to detectives that 𝐂𝐫𝐜 was unlikely to be found safe. For her loved ones, the news was devastating. What little optimism remained quickly turned to heartbreak. Questions soon replaced hope. What had happened? Why? And what kind of person could hold that much anger towards someone like 𝐂𝐫𝐜? With no remains recovered, closure remained out of reach, and sadly, there's no easy way to say goodbye when there's no place to say it. At this stage, investigators were focused on figuring out who had left 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻's car at the shopping center. Surveillance footage showed the vehicle leaving the couple's home at exactly 9:21 a.m. About 20 minutes later, a mall camera picked it up again. While the specific parking structure where the car was found lacked direct camera coverage, a nearby camera captured the footpath leading toward that area, conveniently close to where the vehicle had been abandoned. Upon reviewing the recording, detectives spotted something notable. Not long after the Chevy arrived, a man wearing a hooded sweatshirt appeared on camera. Given the chilly weather, his attire didn't raise immediate suspicion, but investigators still wanted to know where he was going. The video showed him crossing the street and approaching a nearby taxi stand. After a short exchange with one of the drivers, he got into the cab and rode off. Sometimes, the smallest errands, like catching a cab, have a way of turning up in all the wrong stories. Authorities traced the cabs stationed near the shopping plaza to a specific taxi company. Using the timestamp from the video, they were able to narrow down which vehicle the man in the hoodie had entered. Fortunately, the taxis were equipped with GPS systems, which revealed that the ride ended just 1 block from 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻 and Jeffrey's residence. The passenger had paid in cash before stepping out. As the cab exited the area, it briefly passed through the view of the same camera that had earlier shown glimpses of 𝐂𝐫𝐜 and Jeffrey's house. 2 minutes later, a figure wearing a hooded sweatshirt appeared in the frame. The video wasn't sharp enough to clearly identify the face, but a noticeable white logo stood out on the front of the hoodie. Investigators continued watching as the man calmly made his way into the home 𝐂𝐫𝐜 shared with Jeffrey. With her still unaccounted for, the scene left little room for guesswork. Once a warrant was granted, investigators proceeded to search the residence. From the outside, the house gave off an ordinary, quiet appearance. Nothing particularly out of place. But as they moved through the space with greater attention, details began to emerge. In the couple's bedroom, small reddish marks were found on the wall near the bed, and the mattress contained dozens more. The room appeared to have been recently tidied and rearranged. When luminol was applied to the carpet, it lit up extensively, revealing stains invisible to the naked eye. The pattern stretched from the bedroom across other parts of the house. Lab analysis revealed that the DNA found during the search matched 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻's, a development that strongly suggested she had been seriously harmed. Along with the home, officers also searched Jeffrey's vehicle. On the surface, it appeared clean. No signs of conflict or visible traces of anything unusual. However, one item stood out: a gas station receipt discovered inside the car. The timestamp placed it about 1 hour and 40 minutes before 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻's vehicle was later seen at the shopping plaza. Seeing the details printed on the receipt, investigators confirmed that the transaction had been made using Jeffrey's bank card. They then visited the gas station in question to examine the surveillance footage. The recording showed Jeffrey refueling his car, followed by a stop at the ATM inside the store. The video gave a clear view of his face and also showed a small emblem on his jacket, one that looked strikingly similar to the logo seen on the sweatshirt worn by the man in earlier footage. With this evidence, along with findings from the home, authorities took action. Jeffrey Trevino, 39, was taken into custody. He was brought in for questioning and officially named as the sole suspect. Once seated in the interrogation room, Jeffrey requested to contact his lawyer. On legal advice, he chose not to answer any questions and invoked his right to remain silent. While the case against him was growing stronger, investigators knew that the absence of a body left a significant gap. At this point, no one held on to the hope that 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻 might still return. Law enforcement, supported by 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻's loved ones and several community volunteers, spent the following months combing through various locations, still hoping to bring her home, even if just in memory.
As the snow began to melt in late March, volunteers searching near Keller Lake, just a few miles from Jeffrey's home, came across a discarded bag along the roadside and contacted law enforcement. Inside, officers found a pillow, a shirt, and a bra, all bearing visible stains. Forensic testing later confirmed that the DNA on those items matched 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐻's. Though the lake remained partially frozen, a dive team was sent in to examine the water. No further discoveries were made. On land, specially trained search dogs were used multiple times in the surrounding area, but those efforts didn't lead to any new information either. Then on May 8, 2013, more than 2 months after Ķira's disappearance, a call was placed to the St. Paul Police Department. A man reported seeing something concerning in the Mississippi River. Officers responded and recovered what was later confirmed through dental records to be 𝐂𝐫𝐜𝐴 Steger. The medical examiner's review noted physical evidence of significant trauma, but due to the condition in which she was found, determining an exact cause of passing wasn't possible. Even nature, it seems, has a way of leaving a few pages missing in the final chapter. With new findings in hand, investigators worked to piece together the possible chain of events from that night. They believed that after returning home, a disagreement may have taken place, sparked by Jeffrey noticing messages on 𝐂𝐫𝐜's phone. When 𝐂𝐫𝐜 declined to share the conversation, tensions escalated. Investigators suspected that, in a moment of frustration, Jeffrey forcibly took the phone, causing her physical harm. After reading the messages, which appeared to be romantic in nature, his anger reportedly intensified, leading to actions that had irreversible consequences. It was thought that he used 𝐂𝐫𝐜's vehicle to leave the home with her remains, making a brief stop at a gas station before heading toward the river. During the drive back, investigators believe he discarded the bag containing her personal items, including clothing and a pillow, by the roadside. The following morning, footage showed him at another gas station, withdrawing cash. This detail suggested some planning, as he likely knew he'd need money for a taxi after leaving 𝐂𝐫𝐜's car at the shopping plaza. Paying in cash, of course, leaves fewer breadcrumbs behind, though in this case not nearly enough. In October 2013, a jury found 39-year-old Jeffrey Trevino guilty. While the defense successfully argued that the incident was not planned and had occurred during a moment of emotional volatility, the court still held him responsible for the irreversible outcome of that night. Before the sentencing, 𝐂𝐫𝐜's loved ones were given the opportunity to speak. Her sister, Carrie Ann, described him as someone who carefully manipulated appearances and deserved no leniency. 𝐂𝐫𝐜's mother, Marcy, expressed deep sorrow, saying her daughter had been discarded without dignity. And her father, Jay, spoke with quiet grief, noting that no prison term, no matter how long, could truly balance the scale for what had been lost. In November of that same year, Jeffrey Trevino received a sentence of 27.5 years. He will be eligible to seek parole in 2031, though for those left behind, time has moved quite differently. This case serves as a thoughtful reminder that things aren't always what they seem, and that difficult situations can sometimes unfold behind closed doors. 𝐂𝐫𝐜 was working toward a fresh start, one that sadly never came to be. Her story highlights the importance of communication, support, and early intervention when relationships begin to shift. By continuing to share these stories, we help raise awareness and encourage healthy dialogue, both in our communities and in our personal lives. If this case resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that matter. Your support helps ensure these voices are remembered and never overlooked.